All right, welcome back to the Packy Run podcast. We're on episode 8 now. It's
Yeah, I
crazy.
guess so.
I'm your host, AJ Lagambina.
And I am Dan Mayott. This is not going to be a normal episode where we typically have a good time and talk and fool around and talk about fun subjects. This is going to be a more serious episode this one time.
Yeah,
Yes.
Dan, the world's falling apart.
First having the coronavirus and everything that's going on with that. And this has been an ongoing battle for really centuries at this point. And if you don't know what we're talking about and we're referring to the recent riots, with George Floyd because of his death.
Yeah, murder of George Floyd in Minnesota. I guess it's as good a place as any to start by saying that, on the one hand, I'll give our listeners the disclaimer. You know, we're two jackasses in our 20s. We say it every week. We're not experts on anything. I think the only thing that we can say definitively on anything is we're jackasses, so we know one when we see one, and our president is one. But when it comes to race relations in the country and stuff, we're not experts. We're here to talk each week just because we like talking to each other and we hope people like listening to us talk. But yeah, you can see our faces on the cover art for the episode. You know, take everything we say with a grain of salt, obviously.
Sure, but I will start this off by saying with the disclaimer that we do support Black Lives Matter. We are both horrified by the George Floyd murder, because that's what it is. It wasn't an accident.
It's a murder, and it's a symptom of a problem that's everywhere in this country, and it's just sad. It's just sad. It's not okay. It's not right. It's not, there's nothing that I think either of us can really say that really contributes to the conversation in any real way, besides just making sure that, you shouldn't be coming to us for news. You shouldn't be coming to us for, anything more than just some dialogue from two guys that have opinions on what's going on and the word you used is perfect. Just it's horrifying. It's hard to wake up and see those kind of things come across a news feed or from your different news outlets. It's really hard to get up and see those kind of stories and not understand how this is still going on.
It's been going on for decades.
A lot longer than either of us have been, alive or aware.
And the reality of it all is people have tried to peacefully protest. People have tried to do it in a peaceful manner. Colin Kaepernick kneeing, you had different sports players wearing t-shirts, like Kobe Bryant said, had a t-shirt that said "Hands up, don't shoot." There were the LA riots back in 1992. When are we just going to wake the fuck up?
And that's the thing, is just this issue isn't going to go away until there's systemic change, and that burden is kind of on everyone, I guess. It's hard. It's a hard subject to kind of talk about as, a cisgendered white dude. How do you even approach it? How do you, I am at a loss, which is not to say that I want to give up the fight. I want to keep donating. I want to, support the protesters and support the people in my life of color, the people that I interact with on a literal daily basis. It's, like I said, it's just disheartening, and it's honestly, it feels defeating, and I couldn't even try to imagine what it must feel like to be someone of color right now. It's just not only to be in the situations that they're in on a daily basis, where those people have to be afraid of they almost by definition they have to be afraid of like police forces. They have to be afraid of some jackass staring out their window and seeing them and deciding to call the cops because they're uncomfortable with a person of color being in their neighborhood or something. Like,
yeah,
I can't imagine that kind of struggle. I'm not going to pretend that I even could imagine that kind of struggle. I guess
we can't speak to that.
No,
we can't speak to it.
You hit the nail on the head. You can't speak to it. You can't. It's not really. And the irony of us talking about it in a podcast format is not lost on me. But like, you can't. It's not our turn to speak on it. It's not our turn to give opinions about those kind of things. Now's the time to be listening and to be doing whatever it is you can. I know last week we were talking a little bit about a lot of the people that just kind of repost things for the sake of reposting them, and that in retrospect does kind of seem a little bit insensitive, but I still kind of believe that on the whole. But in this particular case, repost if it's something that's worth reposting, if that's what little you can do, if you can't contribute financially, if you can't make it out to a protest, that spreading information is a good thing as long as it's legitimate information, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of, I'll agree, it does seem a little insensitive at this time, at this point. But, I mean, sharing resources and sharing what you can is important. This isn't the time to be shaming other people. I've seen a lot of it online, like someone that I know was shaming people. She was like, if you're a healthy white person and you're not at a protest, like, what are you doing? And like shaming people online for that. Like, and I've seen donation shaming. Like, if you can donate $10 is $10. Like, I know that's not a lot of money in theory, but it can still help somebody get out of jail in some sort of way. I don't have a lot of money to give. My stimulus check hasn't come yet, for example, and I'm not going to get into that, but I donated like $10 to the Minneapolis the Prison Relief Fund and the Brooklyn Fund. $10 each, $20 total. Probably gonna give some more once more money comes my way. But it's all about, at this point, we have to listen to people. We cannot speak on someone else's experience. We just have to, white people have to shut up and listen and let other people talk.
And I think I think the kind of most widespread thing that you can do to enact change at this point in time is sitting back and listening and letting the people whose voices aren't being heard or being drowned out, let them have their say. Let them spread the information that they need to spread, because you don't, again, tying it into last week's episode, you don't know everything. You need to sometimes you need to keep that front of mind and do more listening than you're doing talking.
And there's a lot of misinformation out there.
There's a shit ton of misinformation.
Like there's been reports that all the people spray painting and looting are people of color and minorities. That's not true at all. I mean, like, a lot of it is actually optimistic white people who just want a free TV. There's people that are just trying to take advantage of mob mentality and going and just acting completely out of line, and again, just drowning out voices that need to be heard. And that's not what this is about. That's not what the moment calls for. There needs to be some sort of change. There needs to be action. There needs to be actions taken. Those actions need to be, I think, almost purely grassroots. It needs to be large groups of people, because I think at the end of the day, what a lot of people want is the equality that we're all told we have. I think a lot of people want that solidified, and they want that to feel more tangible than it does. And to make those kind of changes in this country, you need to let the people who need to be speaking speak, and then everybody needs to be speaking with their wallets and with their actions to make sure that legally these things change. Talking to friends and family members and just
doing everything that they can to get everybody on the same page about this, because this world exists in shades of gray, right? Like there's so many variables to so many different things, but man, this one just feels like it's forgive the expression, but it just feels black and white. It's right and wrong.
Yeah. I will say, like, I mean, across the board, and at least this is in my timeline, actually, probably not across the timeline, because, like, I remember there was, like, a YouTuber I watch, King of the Fourth Quarter. He is a basketball YouTuber. He is black and from Chicago, and he got pulled over. He is very well established, very, he has a lot of subscribers and is doing very well for himself and drives a Tesla Model 3, and got pulled over. Like last night I saw this tweet and he was terrified of it. I can't even imagine that. And then what I can't even imagine is the fact that some people were replying to his tweet and saying, like, you know, the police don't kill a lot of people, and like you shouldn't fear the cops, and like all this stupid stuff. I'm like, that's so unnecessary in a time like this.
It's just...
You're a 14-year-old white kid talking on Twitter. What do you know about the police? I don't get it, man. Like, this has to stop. And if looting and rioting is the way to do it, so be it. So be it.
It's a conversation. It's a conversation that I've had with more than a few people at this point. There's a lot of noise about, you know, looting and rioting is, you know, undermining the root cause of the change that people are trying to make. And at this point, like, the peaceful protests haven't gone anywhere. There's been so many examples for so many years of people trying to do this peacefully, trying to use, you know, your examples from the sports world are perfect of, you know, that was peaceful protesting, and it just turned into a media frenzy and people were clowning on Colin Kaepernick and things, and like that was peaceful, like, protest, stupid. And nothing changed, nothing happened, because everybody was just making noise about it and trying to make it into, you know, everybody just went to Twitter and, you know, everybody was in the hot take chamber instead of listening to the words that were actually being said. And that, you know, if that isn't going to work, and that hasn't worked for years, then yeah, maybe it's time. You know, we live in the United States of America. People speak with their wallets. You start hurting some people's wallets and maybe you start seeing something happen. You know, that logic checks out for me.
And some of them, like, I mean, we have insurance companies for a fucking reason. And also the CEO of Target was like, yeah, we can rebuild another Target. Like, we support them.
That's indicative of what we're talking about here. Just if that's how the CEO of a major corporation is going to react to something like this, I think that just kind of proves the point that, you know, these things do kind of need to continue. This whole movement for so many years has been strong and vocal, but it's also, a lot of it has seemed to be peaceful, despite what, you know, mainstream media outlets are going to tell you and whatever. I think the vast majority of it has been peaceful, and it hasn't gotten anywhere. So what does that leave people with?
They've also said that police forces and police departments have started it. Like, they're the ones that are being violent, which...
I don't understand how we can live in a country that condemns other countries for using tear gas on its citizens, but it seems like not nobody, but a lot of people just aren't even blinking an eye at the fact that local police officers are throwing tear gas at American citizens. That's not their job. That's not what they're there to do. And I mean, I guess you get what you get when you hire, you know, kids with high school diplomas that aren't maybe necessarily the most educated. They haven't necessarily been... Well, here's the thing. In my experience, most of the people our age that I know that are law enforcement officials, I guess is a broad enough brush. Most of those kids were frankly not great people.
No.
And B, they don't seem to be moving around a whole lot. They're not really getting outside of their bubble. They're not seeing new people and new ways of life, and they're not exposed to anything outside of that bubble. So yeah, you have so many cops on the streets that just have no clue about the people that they're dealing with, and it's tragic, but it makes sense that they would react that way to like the other or the unknown. So
yeah,
again, it's just a systemic problem. It needs to change, and it needs to change in a big way from the ground up.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on that, like people do fear the unknown. People don't, if they don't understand, they're scared. It's tough. It's tough to speak on. And I think part of it is like people are not being open-minded enough, not traveling, not meeting as many people, and stereotyping. There's a lot of stereotypes out there about a lot of different people,
and
they're not true.
And it's just the culture the way it is right now. It's just it is a little bit ironic that we're all walking around with, or not all, but so many of us are walking around with the entire world's worth of information in our pockets, and everybody's still just using that to isolate themselves in their own corners and not
blindly ignorant.
Yeah, they're not looking at the bigger picture. They're not looking at the person standing in front of them, and they're not processing. So many people are just not processing any of the information. They're not looking with a critical eye. They're not using their heads. And how do you fix that? I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
You gotta you fix it by doing. I guess you fix it by doing what's happening now. That's the best tool. It's just speaking about it, donating to causes, figuring out what the best way to contribute to the conversation is without stepping over the people who really need to be heard and just haven't been heard.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like they are the ones that want to be heard. I remember seeing a like one of those graphics, and it was like how to be a good white ally in a protest, and it was like some chants are just not meant for you, and you shouldn't be chanting them. Like the hands up, don't shoot, I can't breathe, and never start a chant. And I think that was a very important thing to see. That like, you know what, we're there to support. That is like me and you, we're there to support and help out. We're not there to be the ones leading the parade.
Well, while we're still recording, we should absolutely mention we're recording this on Tuesday. A lot of different industries, I think for both of us, obviously the music industry in particular,
yes,
has participated in a Blackout Tuesday. So people are, they're not really promoting anything. They're not talking much about anything. They're just kind of creating space to let the people who need to be heard be heard. So yeah, in light of that, it feels like we should just keep this short. This is kind of where the two of us stand and how we feel about everything that's going on. And we hope that, or at least I hope that at the end of the day, I think just hearing a couple of voices talking about some of the things and taking the thoughts that we have in our heads and putting them out there into the world, that's not always the worst thing. And sometimes maybe it's a little bit of a comfort just to hear, physically hear some voices tell you
yes,
where they're at and what they're feeling. So we welcome the discussion, I guess. I'd love to hear from people and talk to people and learn more about what's going on.
We're going to link to some places that you can help out, you can donate money to, some resources you can read. That's all I got for this week. Fuck Donald Trump. He's a fucking coward hiding in his fucking bunker in his White House while thousands of people fucking suffer. Fuck him. And I hope everyone who is protesting is safe. And I just hope everyone, we can all love each other and get along. And we're here for you.
Let's take some time and make some actual change. That's really all I got. We'll talk to you guys next week, and hopefully within the next week we can see some change, but that's the more important part. But also, hopefully next week we can get back to having some fun and doing some stuff to get people's minds off of just the heartbreak that's happening right now. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.